Hello and welcome back to Me, Myself and Mental Health. This is episode 8 and we are going to be discussing the obvious lockdown. So I'll start by saying this one is it's obviously a bit different. Usually I talk about specific symptoms of mental health or um, particular types of mental health. This time I'm just going to be covering things as a whole because what's been going on recently in the world is something that everyone's been going through, and people that have not previously had mental health problems may have started to see some symptoms or not be in a very good way. So this is just really me talking about how I found it as someone who has pre-existing mental health issues, and just checking in really to see how everyone's been doing for the last few weeks. So when this lockdown started, I released a video just kind of reminding everyone to, look after yourselves and ways you can do that and ways to check in on other people that you may be concerned about. And I thought actually through this period I'd probably do a few more of these than I have done. When it came down to it, actually, I just didn't really have the mental bandwidth to do so. Um, that's not to say I was in a bad way. I wasn't. I've actually been pretty good for the majority of this, save for week 2, where I was a bit dark and twisty. I've kind of enjoyed the downtime, but I know a lot of people have been struggling. One of the things I've seen online is people are feeling perhaps like the right people aren't checking in with them. And I just want to say, on that respect, going back to what I said at the beginning of this is a global thing. This is not something you personally are going through. It's not something I am going through on my own. Everyone has been impacted by this. If you've got someone checking in on you, then try not to be too worried about who it is. At least someone's doing it. The person who might want to check in on you might not have the bandwidth themselves to do so. This isn't the time to be testing loyalties or friendships, because everyone's in the same boat. And someone who might usually be the person you lean on, they might actually be the one needing someone this time. No one can predict how they're going to react to what's been going on. For the most part, it does seem like most of the people I've spoken to are in good spirits. Everyone seems to be doing okay, at least. Um, at least that's the feedback I've been given. If I am wrong, by all means, feel free to reach out to me and tell me what you've been struggling with, or just, I don't know, have a drink with me on House Party. Kind of died after a week, didn't it? On Facebook Messenger, I don't know, talk to me. I'm right now, I'm in a pretty good mental place, so I have the bandwidth to stretch to people who may not be right now. For those of us who are in New Zealand, we're doing great so far. We've got down to having 2 consecutive days of 0 new cases, which is great. Obviously, we're not quite out of the woods yet, but it does give us a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Just don't put all your hopes on it, is my thing. Last week, I sort of really set my mind on the fact that we were most certainly going to be a bit more free starting from next week. And I've had to kind of ground myself a bit, because I psyched myself up enough that I could feel it was going to really impact me if we weren't. So I just sort of took a step back and said to myself, these actual last few weeks have been fine. You've found ways to kind of get on with it. You've had good people helping you get on with it. Another week, or however long it may be, in the long run, it's not going to be too tough. People seem to be putting quite a bit of pressure on themselves to make sure that they are staying busy, make sure they're being productive, make sure they are filling their days. And you don't need to do that. I felt like that at the beginning. I was like, oh, I must be painting, must be learning something, must be outside for this amount of time, doing this amount of exercise. And that buzz wore off real quick, because I just listened to what my body and my mind wanted, which was to do kind of fuck all. On the weekends, I went to sort of the second home in my bubble, and I get my interaction from that. I get my energy burst from sort of anyone who's seen my stories will know. We party quite hard there on the weekend, and it gives me what I need, as far as human interaction goes, and as expending energy. But when I get home, I've sort of we'll try and get it going, and it just doesn't happen. And it was only really last week that I sort of looked at the fact that before lockdown happened, I didn't stop. My brain never stopped. My body was just all over the place. I think I worked out that I'd been in Wellington 4 weekends between the beginning of November and when lockdown happened. And 3 of those were consecutive just before lockdown. My job is creative. I have to be creative for 6 different clients all week long, every week. So when it came down to enforced downtime, I wasn't feeling very creative, and that's fine. I actually completely recharged. People who know me will know, as a hypersocial person and a creative person and an insomniac, my brain's always completely wired, always dialed up to an 11. I'm always doing something. I'm always with someone. I don't really spend time at home or on my own. And about week 3, I was like, feeling really, really lethargic, really tired, but not hitting it. I didn't feel exhausted, like how that's usually the cause of my tiredness. It was actually in week 4 when I kind of went, I think actually for the first time in many years, I've learnt how to relax, which is, something normal people apparently do. Me and my 20 billion open tabs, not so much. So I just took that as what it was. I've been busy. Ideas, events, numbers, all of it constantly. And I'm not someone who takes time out to chill out. I take time out to do things. And they just kind of add on to the open tabs and the burnout. And so I just accepted, very relaxing. And I'm hoping that when things get up and running again, that's something I can continue, being relaxed. It's nice, who knew? Good for you, apparently. But as we are getting closer, I have actually been paying more attention to my mental health. I didn't want to do loads of these videos during lockdown because I didn't want to forcefully analyze where I was at if it wasn't something I was feeling in the moment. I didn't think that was going to be productive for myself or for anyone that I was speaking to through these. But over the last week, as we are getting a bit realistically closer to approaching our new normal, I have started looking at where I am at mentally and what I've gained in a positive way out of the lockdown. And it was on the Tuesday, the first day of level 3, I went to go to the shop, and there were so many people everywhere. I don't know if it was as manic as I felt like it was, but I certainly had quite a vast level of anxiety. It just felt like everything had just gone snap back to normal, and that no one was really taking anything to consideration. So I quickly went home and just like, well, shut the door, I'm staying at home, fuck this. And then I realized that I was also out there. No one was doing anything largely different to me. Everyone just wanted to take a bit of a deeper breath than they'd been able to outside over the previous 4 weeks. And in the days since then, it seems to have mellowed out because everyone's obviously super keen to get back out there properly. So, I'm glad to be in a country that is taking it as seriously as it is. But it did make me think about how myself and others will adapt to being back out there. I've really enjoyed my time and I've enjoyed my bubble, and it's almost going to be weird not having that routine I've had for myself over the last 6 weeks, because I'm super excited to see people, but I'm also a little bit cautious. I know it's only 6 weeks, but you're reintegrating into something that's different to what you left. And that's something that's played on my mind a bit, and probably on quite a few people. Some people are going to just be, full steam ahead. Some people are going to really struggle, particularly those with anxiety disorders, those with OCD, as I said in my last video about how triggering this will be for pre-existing mental conditions. People who've had routines to help them deal with their mental health have had to change them, and they're going to have to change them again quite quickly. They say it takes 12 weeks to really form a habit. Well, it's only been 6, and people are going to have to adapt again. So, you know, if you're one of those people, if you know people who are prone to these illnesses, who are perhaps going to be struggling a bit more than others, give them a hand or put them in touch with me, or get in touch with me if you're one of them. I certainly will be openly speaking as much as I can, because I've seen how much more open people are with talking about their mental health when it's a group thing. You know, when you think that you're the only one who's suffering, you may keep it to yourself a bit more. But because this thing has affected everyone, a lot of my friends on my timeline, in my inbox, on the phone, have been a bit more open about where they are at mentally, which is great. It helps people acknowledge that we're all going through something, and it means we can help each other. You know, going forward, it's something that I hope remains intact. The consideration for others, the willingness to open up to people about where you're at and what you're worried about and what you're feeling within yourself, because I don't want things to go back to normal, and it shouldn't, because that normal is gone, it's dead. But people shouldn't just snap straight back to old habits. People have probably developed some stronger relationships. Some people's relationships may have deteriorated. You know, they're extenuating circumstances. We could never have predicted that this was going to happen to us. So none of us were equipped to deal with it. But I think everyone's dealt with it quite well. And I think and I hope that everyone comes out of it with an appreciation for really how privileged we are. I mean, seeing the buzz of being able to get takeaways and getting coffees again, it's like, you know, it's really shown how first world problems, a lot of the problems we would complain about are. And I hope that we all maintain that level of appreciation for how good we have it as a society, as a country, and that we really continue to appreciate each other and love our friends as much as we have done when we didn't know when we were going to see them next. I know that I am buzzing to see people I haven't seen for a while. I'm buzzing to get back to work. If you've got a job to go back to, excellent. But count yourself lucky, so many people haven't. I'm just kind of curious now to see how I'm going to handle the next step, how you're all going to handle the next step, and how we're going to do it together. I've spoken to a couple of people about this already, but post-lockdown, I've previously mentioned that I want to do a series called Gin and Topics, where we sort of sit around and have a drink together. It doesn't necessarily have to be people from the same social group. In fact, it would probably be better if it's a mix. So I'd like to invite some people now who would want to participate in the first episode, which will be kind of talking about how you have felt during lockdown and how you've dealt with the thing as a whole, and how you're feeling coming out of it. So if you are someone that would like to be a part of that, slide in the DMs, and I'll see you next time, which will be when we find out what's happening next.